live show. I am your host, Dr. Melissa Gallagher, and you might notice a new location. I'm filming in my, this is technically my warehouse. So it's a room that used to be my original location where I shot all of the first 2.5 years of video content, or more recently. So at any rate, this used to be a filming studio or set where I used to have grass on the wall. But welcome all of you. Good morning. I'm hosting you live. I am running solo today. So my partner in crime, Brian, is back at work, unfortunately for us. And hopefully, I'm crossing my fingers, we won't have a little one come in here. So I've had to move my location closer to him so that I can hear him and accommodate his needs in the event that he needs attention, which is an only child syndrome. So welcome all of you. We're going to talk about some news. So I also have information to share with you, especially if you have any children. I'm going to share with you some research and studies for really parents that have kids between the age of 4 and 21. This will be impactful. So yay. I'm so excited to see all of you live this morning. And I know Pat is moderating. So I want to thank each and every one of you for showing up every day. It is my pleasure to bring you COVID news. So let's dig in. The world is almost at 8 million cases. We'll probably hit that later today. So probably tomorrow we'll be reporting we're at 8 million. The US is at 2.135 million. And Brazil's at 863. Russia's at 537. And India is at 333,000 cases. And the latest communication from the scientists and researchers here in the States that are familiar with infectious disease, they're looking at normal, what we knew as normal, probably returning in over a year. So we are going to have to settle into the life as we know it in COVID world. And, oh, you know what, you guys, I forgot my toilet paper earrings. I found these. So in organizing, kind of clearing off this one desk I have in here, I found my toilet paper earrings. So this is an ode to the coronavirus, and you can buy these. I've got links down below. Instagram, this now repurposes on Instagram TV, and I accidentally deleted. I hit the wrong button on Saturday, but at any rate, it repurposes on IGTV. So let's dig into some states. We are seeing an overwhelming increase in states like Arizona, Texas, Florida, and there's just an assortment. They're reporting between 21 to 22 cases, or 21 to 22 states that are on the incline. And this is still the first wave. So we're not talking about a second wave. We're talking about a continuation, basically premature reopenings. Because states were not adhering to the guidelines set forth, and now we're seeing ramifications of that. Noteworthy states I want to talk about: California is at 148,000. On Saturday, they're at 141. So they've increased 2 days, almost 8,000 cases. And Illinois is at 132,000. They were... Sorry, I didn't get a chance to do my kind of flip through. They were at 132. So they've had just incremental increase, but Texas definitely, they've increased by over 4,000, almost 4,500 cases in 2 days. And also Florida, you guys, I'm monitoring Florida a lot because that's where I started my business, my friends, I have family, I grew up there. Florida is reporting, now I'm going to share 2 different reports. So as of the state reporting, Florida is at 75,568. That is up by over 5,000. Way over 5,000. They've had the 2 biggest days yet, 2,500 plus cases each day. Multiple closures like bars all over the state. There's a local bar in my hometown, St. Pete, that they had a COVID case. The bar is closed. Orlando, one of the suburbs of Orlando, they had a bar that presented a case. The bar is closed. Jacksonville, multiple bars. Jacksonville Beach bars are all closed. And Palm Beach County is setting the record in the state for cases over the weekend. Children's numbers are up. Of the children tested, 9.2% are coming back positive, which is pretty substantial. Now, I highlighted on Saturday that the Florida data monitor, who was fired because she didn't want to doctor, she was asked to doctor and minimize the reporting cases. She since started her own Florida COVID database. She's collecting as this algorithm she said, she's collecting from all these different sources. So these were her numbers on Saturday, and it was about 8,000, over 8,000 higher than what the state was reporting. So I pulled just right before I went on, I just printed this off. So the state is reporting 75,568, but her reporting, yeah, so there's the DOH is only reporting this. The total positive tests, so non-DOH, there's an additional amount of tests possibly coming from private. I don't know the exact breakdown of all the cases, but it really is 83,720. So I don't know if that's inverted here, but do know that Florida is not reporting all the numbers. And I have friends, I saw friends over the weekend, all at the beach, a lot of folks out and about. It makes me cringe and get nervous for everybody. So please wear your mask. We have more and more data. I'm actually going to I've got something on order that I can quickly, I have a reference file of all the things I've reported, and then I can show you how many studies that are out there once I get a little bit more organized in this setting. But definitely, I went out Sunday morning. I needed to get a whole bunch of art stuff for Gabriel that I couldn't get online or are just really expensive online. So I went to the Dollar Tree. And I got there first thing. I mean, I was like masked up, glasses, gloves, like the whole nine, junk outfit, flip-flops that I was going to sanitize at home. And I can't believe, one, how busy they were on a Sunday morning. And two, nobody was wearing masks. There were actually a lot of people, a lot more than I expected on the Sunday morning. But nobody was wearing masks. Even the girl checking me out, they had the plexiglass, but she was not wearing a mask. And I literally want to go back, and I'm thinking about doing it, of giving her a mask. Like, it's just so insane. We need to be wearing masks. Keto coffee. We've been up since 4:30 this morning. With Gabriel, we had a really rough night. Daddy's back to work. Our schedule's a little different. He's not getting nearly the amount of attention this morning as he's used to. And part of my impetus for today's video is based on our experience last night. He is literally having some growing pains. He is like growing, his brain is all, in that like short circuitry. For any of you parents, you totally relate. He's sometimes a gremlin like that, like, oh, mommy, I love you, huggy, huggy, and then like total gremlin. So today's topic, once we get to it, we're going to talk about pain relieving. So what can you do if you have muscle, joint pain? I'm going to share with you some tactics for children and most importantly, adults here. So let's see. Florida definitely is on the increase. Georgia also is on the increase. We have seen almost 2,000 new cases added. And Ohio, I want to report Ohio State players. They are forcing the collegiate athletes to sign COVID waivers. So I don't know how much that flies, in terms of legality, but that is very concerning. But anyway, so I also want to share with you some news through contact tracing. The CDC's really kind of dug into some of the growth into the California market. And basically, they've identified a Manhattan-based surgeon in the middle of March, like the 13th of March, flew from New York to LA, and he was positive. He had been working with cases. He was positive. I think it was unknown to him. I can't imagine a surgeon knowingly doing that. But he spread the virus to over 200 people on the airplane and in the airport. So his exposure in the airport and airplane, 200 individuals tested positive. From that, multiple other cases occurred. And they have linked his flight to a lot of the outbreaks, particularly one big one in a California assisted living facility. Dozens of people died because of that one flight and that gentleman being exposed. not wearing a mask. At that point, it was really, really early on. I think that day that had been declared a state of emergency. The surgeon has since passed on because of the coronavirus. Like, he landed, developed symptoms, and was hospitalized, and then in ventilation, and expired. But that is really cool because they're now saying that the LA Public Health Department did not alert the CDC as to that case, and the contact tracing wasn't able to be implemented. Therefore, all these people had no idea they had this exposure. So again, it comes back to how reliable our departments of health, our local health facilities and departments, and reporting this and contact tracing. It becomes really critical that we really equip ourselves, our bodies, with defenses. And one of the biggest defenses are eyewear, glasses, goggles, and nose, mouth protection from other people and minimizing that exposure. The CDC has actually had almost 400 contact tracing investigations. So those are 400, like, one person linked out to a multitude of other individuals, but that's just within airline travel. So that's pretty substantial in terms of just the exposure rate in the air travel world. As also some travel news, there are still 40,000 cruise crew members that are stuck at sea. 60,000 have been released to their homes and home countries in the last month, but we still have 40,000 out there. There's a lot to the situation. There are individuals that are positive on these cruise ships. There have been 2 suicides because of the isolation. And that is something that could be a risk for Jacksonville. So speaking of Florida and Jacksonville, there will be a political convention that occurs in Jacksonville, I think in July. At least that's what's being planned. And traditionally, the way big conferences, conventions, and even Super Bowls work, Jacksonville often will bring in cruise ships because they don't have enough hotels, the downtown area. So there's been talk as of last week. I read it specifically about cruise ships. They're looking at deploying 3 or 4 cruise ships to be in the Jackson Harbor, I guess what we call it, but right there, kind of where the river is, the river and the ocean meet. They're going to possibly use cruise ships, which puts the whole nother area of risk, already knowing that we've seen major outbreaks in the cruise ships. So I don't know how that's going to play out. The state of Florida seems to be pretty lax in terms of that. So I'd imagine they're going to be okay. And most importantly, for all you parents out there, there is some new research out. It was posted or released. Actually, it was submitted on May 28th. It was recently released. But it is a lot of university professors and researchers in England, the UK, that assess the impact of social isolation and loneliness on the mental health of children and adolescents in context with COVID. And it's a loneliness mental health rapid review. And there's a whole bunch of researchers, PhD clinicians that dig into the impact and what they actually say. So I'll post this, but it's pretty substantial. And then they have a whole bunch of graphs and things from other research, but this is the bulk of their study. They analyze and look at children between the ages of 4 and 21. And they're saying that the loneliness factor has a huge mental health impact, and depression is 3 times higher than normal children. And they're seeing it as early as kids my son's age. And the impact of play is going to be a big factor, at least with the younger kids, and then socialization for bringing kids back to some sense of normalcy and them feeling more at ease and connected with their community. So that's a real challenge when there's a lot of things up in the air. What are schools doing? How is that going to be affected? I mean, I'm seeing also, like back at home, one of the schools that I went to, there's a local rec center and there's a pool. That's where we all learned to swim back when let elementary schools teach swim lessons to kids for PE. They don't do that anymore, but we used to go to this pool. Well, the rec center, there were 2 children that tested positive, and the rec center is closed for the summer. And that's just one little snapshot of little events happening all over the US. And how do we keep our kids connected while socially distanced? And it's really challenging for especially little ones like my son. So I want to put that out there for any of you who are in this field. This is really critical. And they dig into a lot of information in terms of interventions and things that we can do. But, you know, the disease containment measures directly impacts our children. And so that is something that I am cognizant of, especially now Brian's back at work and it's just Gabriel and I. So I appreciate you guys kind of sticking with me. We'll figure it out. If he comes in, I've got a little PlayStation here for him, not actual PlayStation, but like little, we call them centers, but he can play here. And hopefully it won't be disruptive to our chat, but I've got to try and manage all of it. So I know we all are, and you know, mine's not a major issue, but I just want to put that out there. This study is really critical. So, all right, so let's talk about, actually, let me address some questions first. Texas. Okay, so Texas isn't wearing masks. Feathers are not masks, and we're not wearing an N95. Aren't we at risk? And should we get away? So that's a good question. So, you know, for instance, my Dollar Tree adventure, I can't even believe how much stuff I got for Gabriel. I'm like locked and loaded for the whole entire summer on craft projects. Like I had a list. I had already researched what other parents are doing. I watched a whole bunch of YouTube videos for moms. And had my list and went in, and I was there less than, it was like 40 minutes because I was really cognizant of who was checking out, and I only got behind a woman wearing a mask. But I will tell you, it's a duration of time and then protection. So if they aren't wearing masks, you want to make sure your eyes are protected and your nose and your mouth are protected. That really can help. Like I have an insert. I doubled up. So here in this room, I have a lot of supplies for my clinic. And actually the white, those are little that you can open the box. I have all my test kits. I've articulated everything here in this space that I used to have in my clinic. So I grabbed my surgical mask, I grabbed gloves, and then I put my mask with my protective. So I did 2 layers, and I had my sunglasses. The goggles that I had they're steaming up. So I just wore my sunglasses in, and I had my hair up, and then I changed in our garage and put my clothes in the wash and ran upstairs and took a shower. But you know, what you have to be conscious of is the location, the quantity of people. You know, the aim of going there early in the morning is probably better than later in the day. Likelihood of them having cleaned, hopefully. I was so turned off by the experience. I won't go back to that location. And I think it's one of these things where I am going to call the company and use some social influence to highlight the fact that the staff aren't wearing masks. I mean, that is just a basic guideline. I mean, I just can't even believe it. And maybe she's supposed to, and she wasn't, but she was, you know, the girl who checked me out was really young. She's probably, 16 or 17. And she was like, yeah, we're still on lockdown. I mean, it was like all crafts and stuff. Like you could tell I have a child. But you know, that's definitely critical. That is the only reason Dollar Tree that I will shop. Yeah. So Dollar Tree, I would tell you what, oh my gosh. I mean, we got like water soakers. I'm building